And thanks everyone. I know you're all coming from everywhere. You've probably had very busy days, and some of you have travelled to do afterwards as well, so busy nights ahead as well. So I appreciate the time you've made just to carve out a little bit of time to come along and do some learning together in this session. You can probably tell from my first few remarks that I live in Perth. It's not where I started off in life. Grew up in Ireland and sort of spent the first 27 years or so of my life there. But I've lived in Australia for the second half of my life so far. So 3 kids born and reared Aussies, which is not a great thing to say in this audience to start. Yeah, and it's a real privilege to be here. The first time I've been to the building, obviously, but obviously first time to this group. So I'm looking forward to working with you during the session and hopefully helping you to make some meaning and have some fun as well tonight. There will be food. The thought would be that we might do a framing session to go for about 45 minutes, and then we'll jump into the bananas and the sushi back there, which Dave has supplied. And after a few minutes of replenishing your physical spirits, we'll come back and do some sort of work role plays. Not big ones, nothing too stressful, but ones that will help us to ground some of this work. Because the idea of the session isn't that we have a nice time together, it's that you go away with a basis for action. That you go away with 1, 2, 3 things that you think, there's a basis for action there for me. I would be a better coach, or I'd be better in my role. I know you play different roles here in the room. If I could find a marginal gain around that, just a marginal gain. And that'll depend on you, not just on me. Because you create the session for yourself. I'll do my best up here, just as a person, to bring you worthwhile thoughts. Frame it with some slides, be open to your questions and so on. And if you meet me halfway, you'll construct personal knowledge from that will be useful to you. I couldn't possibly speak to all your context. You're all sitting here with different lives, different stories, different roles, different genders, different ages. And there's an enormous amount of wisdom in the collective room here, which we want to use by having you work with each other during the session as well. I'm really passionate about this because we live in very busy times, and in very busy times there's a bit of a tendency to be too busy to change. You can end up rushing past opportunities and learning. You might even sit here at the moment, you might have a monkey mind, you might have a mind that's swinging from one branch to another as we speak. Elvis might not even have come into the building with you. Elvis might not only, and all that can be happening in you right now. So I'm making no assumptions about where you are at as we start. I have no expectations other than that if you want to be serious about your learning, there's a handle on both sides of the door during the session. I'll try to come to you, you try and come back to me, and if we meet in the middle, we'll create something that's worthwhile. There's nothing simpler or more complicated than speaking well, apart from possibly listening well. Listening and speaking, and who am I telling, guys? If I could listen to all of you, any of you could take this session, many of you stand in this spot, in your own roles and in your own world. Deceptively simple and deceptively complicated to speak and to transact your intention well. In a lot of the people I work with about 40% in sports, about 40% in education, about 20% in business. And I work with lots of what you would call senior leaders and coaches in high performance spaces and all sorts of, some people are quite famous. And I'm always struck that when I work with somebody, when they tell me what their intention is, what they want for their work, what they want for the teams they're leading, for the people they're working with, it's always good. Don't meet many people who have a bad intention for other people. There might be the odd tool in the world who gets up every morning to try and make life difficult, but that's not most of us. That's not most of us. Most people have a deeply good intention for their work and for the people that they work with. But when you interview their people, often you hear a different impact. You often hear, the leader might say to me, "Oh, Brendon, I'm a people person. I'm a people person." I'm almost, my antennae go up when I hear that. And then when you talk to the people, they say there's the entrails of the last 4 people that he's filleted are down the corridor behind him. People person, I don't think so. Is he telling me lies? No, he wants to be a people person. Are they telling me lies? No, he is gutted. The last 3 people who asked him a difficult question. And the gap between that person's intention and that person's impact really, really interests me. What we want and who we are can get separated. And when they do, we're in strife in leadership. Because we're wandering around, people telling us we're doing a great job, or in our own headspace, talking about what we intend, and forgetting that that's not what people are judging you by. They're judging you by what you're saying and what you're doing. Because they're the markers, they're the clues that they're using to try and infer, to try and guess your intention. So if we're getting that wrong down here, they'll be making assumptions about what we're thinking in here. And that corrupts the relationship. And as you all know, all your technical work that you do as coaches is all held inside that relational space. If people don't buy you, they don't buy it. Your capacity to care about them, to listen to them, to give them hard feedback in a respectful way, all those things are the relational oil in the machine of your technical practice. And if the oil leaks out, the machine will crank on and it won't be sustainable performance. So, take that on. I want to be really clear here. This is cognitively, this is demanding space we're talking about today. And in demanding space, there are no naturals. We can all get better at this. Right? There are no naturals. There are some people who seem to have a natural gift. They can improve that natural gift. There are other people who seem to be, I worked with somebody recently who said to me, I'm just a, they have to put up with me as I am. I'm just a tell it as it is guy. I said, why would you keep doing that, mate? They all hate you. Change the telling as it is. Stop doing it. Because it's not working for you. So in other words, it's not about being yourself, it's about being yourself skillfully. Where there are edges that we need to improve, chip them off. And where there are strengths that we need to sort of highlight. Nobody's okay as they are. The human being is probably the wrong title for us. Human becomings is more like it. Like we are, as adults, always becoming something. Unlike elephants, when they're an adult elephant, they're an adult elephant. There's not going to be a whole lot of change there after that. But the human being, when it reaches adulthood, we're always changing. We're always capable of changing. And so, let's take a good hard look at ourselves, at our own practice this afternoon and this evening, and just try and find a basis for action that you can step into. Just 1, 2, 3 things that you can do that will change things for you. Talk is not cheap, guys. Talk is not cheap. Talk's very expensive. And you can do an awful lot of damage through words are weapons. Revolutions have started with words. Words are very powerful, words are very laden, and words have strong meaning for other people. And how we use our words and how we have difficult conversations and how we have praising conversations is probably one of the most high leverage things you can focus on as a leader. Give yourself permission to be in the room here now. So if there's anything in your head that is drawing you away, if there's a thing you have to do tomorrow, if there's a thing you had to do today, just put it down. Because if you're dealing with that up here, you won't be dealing with this in here. Right? So just give yourself permission, allow yourself to be in this room. And if you do, you'll be in the right room. And these will be the right people to be with. And whatever we talk about, will be the right stuff. I travel a lot. I travel 200. I had a lunch with Mike Hessen over in Perth before the cricket. He's the, as you know, the New Zealand cricket coach. And he's the only person I know, we talked about it, who seems to be away as much. 220 nights a year is what my sort of travelling schedule is. It's a lot of nights a year. I know some of you have probably got brutal schedules too. The other night in the Qantas Club, where I spend a lot of my time, it's like the lounge, like the Corey lounge, there was an old bloke waiting for a coffee in the queue in front of me. He seemed old to me. Old moves ahead of you. Right? So I'm used to stay close behind you. Some of you are too young to hear that, but it's true. This old bloke was waiting for the barista just to serve him a coffee. I was kind of, the barista was just probably making his 150th coffee for the night. And when this old man got his coffee, he looked at the barista and he said, thank you for what you do. And off he went. Just 2 seconds. Cost him attention to another person. And I could see the barista going, that's really nice. And even me, like in my half asleep state, went, you know. And it reminded me again, I shouldn't need reminding of it anymore, that the currency of performance is presence. If we're not with each other, actually literally with each other, nothing real gets done. Energy, not time, is the fundamental currency of high performance, of any kind of performance. Like, you know your days at work when you spend 12 hours at work and do 2/5 of bugger all. You do nothing. You've just spun your wheels all day. Have you put in a long day? Yes. Have you gone home tired? Yes. But you haven't gone anywhere for the day. And then you know those other bursts of 20 minutes at times when you just get a truckload of stuff done. You think, how the hell did I do that? Like, that's the lesson again. That it's not the amount of time we put into things, it's the amount of presence, the amount of energy we can summon for things that actually really changes and gives life to performance of any kind. Like, I could be absent from you in this moment here. I could be absent from you and then we would have that kind of a session. You could be absent from me and we would have that kind of a session. Or we can be present to each other and we'll have this kind of a session. And that's a choice, and a simple choice, and an easy choice that we get to make all the time in every day. But it seems to be something we have to learn and learn and learn again. And if the ripples of this old bloke's presence of 2 seconds of generosity are in the room in a different country 2 weeks later, imagine what the impact of your coaching presence or your working presence, offered or withheld, has on the people that you work with and on the tasks that you're charged with doing. Where does this come into critical conversations? You have to be in the room. You can't learn this by technique. You can put good technique onto presence and you have a chance. You have bad technique and it'll cost you. Now, we'll talk technique in the second half of this conversation, but I want to spend a bit of time on stance and on presence in the first part. Because if you're not there to the other person, you're going to miss things. Right? And if they're not there to you because they don't feel safe with you, they're going to miss things. And so sort of fundamentally, in a world that sort of tends to run away from each other now, in a world that's sort of shouting at each other now, the coaching, the teaching, that space will always be about gathering energy, orchestrating energy, gathering presence for the other person, and having them present to the task as well. Energy, not time, is the fundamental currency of high performance. And absence, not being present, the price of that is terrible. The price of absence is exile. To be exiled from your own ability, to be exiled from change, to be exiled from the other person. I had, in my own life, probably had 8 or 9 years of exile, where I was essentially a lighthouse keeper in my own life. You can end up in funny places in life. And again, those of us who've lived at 57, a few years have worked this out, possibly by now, and some of you are much younger than me. This may be something that you're hearing ahead of its time. But my eldest son, Kieran, he was 19 at the time, so it was about 7 years ago. He came home from university one day and he said, "Dad, can I ask you a question?" And I said, so happy to be relevant, like every dad. Sure, mate, no problem. Bring your friends, questions. Dads do that. We do questions, right? And so he asked me a question, though, that I haven't stopped thinking about in 7 years. And in fact, it was a question that has changed my whole life. Basically, a question that brought me to use now. He said, "Dad, I have a lot of fun in my life. I know that. But I don't have a lot of joy." And he said, "What can you tell me about the difference?" This is your big trouble, Dad. That's in serious strife here. I have a lot of fun in my life, but I don't have a lot of joy. What can you tell me about the difference? Now, I was present enough to him at least to hear that that was a serious question, because sometimes you say stupid things when you're not present. Like, "Oh, if you're in Syria, mate, fun would be great. It's the first word question." You can say that sort of stuff to people and dishonor the person in front of you very easily. And you hear it all the time. But I had enough presence to say to him, "Oh, geez, mate, that's a huge question, Kieran. I don't think I know what you're asking me, though." And he said, if you look at the outside of me, Dad, he says, "I think everything looks okay. I'm doing fine in university, I've got love my sport, go to the pub, got lots of mates. So he said, that's kind of the circumference, like that's the outside of me. But he says, I'm never really quiet, and I'm never really peaceful. And I'm calling that joy. And then he asked me a question. He said, is joy something like Santa Claus? Joy what we tell kids about, but does growing up mean learning to settle for less? Right? Does growing up mean settling for less? Is joy not possible as an adult? I said, oh man, this is getting worse, Kieran. I said, well, what do you mean, how have you felt joy? How do you know joy exists? He said, I remember joy, Dad. He said, when I was 12, 13, you used to still have time. There's a word, you don't want to be hearing those words, my friend, if you understand. You used to still have time to take me out into the bush. We used to walk for days. And he says, at the end of the day's walk, when you throw your bag down and light up a fire and make a really crappy cup of tea or something, and he said, we'd just be sitting on a log. He said, I always knew that not everything matters the same. Like lots of things don't matter that much, and some things matter a lot. But he said, I find it really hard to tell the difference nowadays. Everything seems to matter the same to me. Everything's coming at me so fast. I feel like everything matters the same, and I don't get a sense. I don't get to do the things that I think matter more. We just get lost in all the other things. We live in fast times, guys, right? All of us. We live in fast times. And the day can live you, sometimes, often, rather than you living the day. And the future can be formed and given to you, rather than you creating and affecting the kind of future you want to have. And it's very easy, over a period of years, to end up in a place where you don't even know how you got there. I was 50 years of age, career-wise, family-wise. Absent. I was still doing everything. Still eating, sleeping, kicking a footy. Like the outside would have looked okay, but that deeper conversation, that sort of more meaningful space, that space that gives us life and passion and motive force, that space that has time to look at its children's faces. Like, let's not get too fancy with this. Now, intention, impact. If you'd asked me, what's the most important thing in your life at that time, I would have said, oh, being a good dad. I'm the bloke who's a good people person, with all the dead people lying around him. Because saying you want to be that and being this is a gap between your intention and your impact. And to do the kind of work that you guys have to do, complex, demanding, often thankless, relational, emotional labor that you guys have to do, you have to be connected with the part of it that gives you life and job and passion and hope. Because if you're not in touch with that part of your meaning space, if you're not in touch with that, you just grind it out. But you won't live in that sort of purposeful, hopeful, present space that the kind of work you have to do really demands of you all the time. I've talked for too long. Have a quick chat, if you don't mind, with the person near you. What is the part of your work that gives you connection, to passion, and to joy? What is the thing that really makes you feel, I like this. This is good fun. I'm good at this, and I like doing this. Just a couple of minutes, and feel free to stand up, guys. Sitting is the new smoking. What is the part of your work? It's true, isn't it? That's a terrible thing to stay seated too long. This thing even tells me to stand up. It says walk around for 97 steps. What is the part of the work here, and you may have many roles, that gives you that connection to that joyful space? I'll just finish the story before you go, because sometimes people ask me, how is your son? Is he all right? Because that question can come from a place of anxiety. Like a lot of our kids have an awful lot nowadays, but there's new poverty in the world. Speed is a poverty. Having digital, Ronan, my youngest bloke, comes home after uni every day, goes to the fridge still because he remembers he has a body, but only for a little while. Then he sets up all his digits, his devices, all his digital spaces. And for the rest of the night, he's like the captain of the Starship Enterprise. He's massaging all these realities, checking in with everybody. The television is on in case the rest of the world has anything interesting happening. There are new poverties in the world, in our world, and for our young. Even though on the surface they have things we didn't have. And